Previously on the WB, Netflix moved to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery for $77 billion. Executives at Netflix insist the deal won't crush theaters or repeat the mistakes of AOL Time Warner. Everybody remembers that. But the industry is rattled. Meanwhile, Paramount Skydance has fired off a hostile 108.4 billion bid of its own, escalating the fight for control over Warner Brothers. So, what this means is if Netflix acquires it, their acquisition would give the streamer the studio identity that it's long lacked, unlocking Warner Brothers' massive IP vault, DC, Harry Potter, Looney Tunes, Game of Thrones, insert IP here, and potentially redefining its place in the streaming wars. But Paramount Skydance's counteroffer raises the stakes, positioning itself as a traditional studio challenger with deep theatrical ties. Theater owners are panicking, fearing Netflix will sideline box office releases, while insiders warn of consolidation risks and creative fallout. So the pros on this, the pros for Netflix is finally gives Netflix their true studio identity, access to Warner Brothers IP vault. And that could, I mean, think about that because I mean they're global streaming. They could like make so much bank on that. Executives argue they'll expand theatrical value, not destroy it. But I mean, like, why would they do that? They already have such a big platform.
Mhm.
And then Paramount Skydance's pros are it keeps Warner Brothers in the hands of a traditional studio with theatrical DNA. Ew, DNA. Potentially safer for theaters and box office revenue. And it could stabilize Warner Brothers without streaming first disruption. So the cons, and this is like the industry concerns about it. Theater owners fear Netflix will undermine box office revenues. Consolidation risks fewer creative voices and less competition. Echoes of AOL Time Warner disaster: too big, too messy, too risky. So the real question is is Warner Brothers better off in Netflix's hands as a bold identity play, or with Paramount Skydance as a safer traditional steward? So let's start this off with James Jamez 5000. What do you think about this?
So hearing about all this, and it screams monopoly right off the bat. But and that goes for either case, whether it's Netflix getting Warner Brothers or if it's Paramount Skydance getting Warner Brothers, it screams monopoly. It's that consolidation, and a lot of jobs are going to get lost, a lot of projects are going to get whacked. That being said, if going back to your question, is who's a better steward for Warner Brothers Discovery? Honestly, I think Netflix would take more value and be more true to who Warner Brothers was trying to be, if that makes sense. Whereas Paramount is just like, we're looking to take more on. Skydance is just like, I just want to own it all. I want to own it all.
Right.
I don't know what the plan is, but we're just going to own it all. But I think Netflix, what's really cool about Netflix is they're really good at pivoting. If something doesn't work or if there's a trend or a change in the market, they're going to change and go. And they're always willing to adapt. Just like how they adapt from remember when we used to get discs in the mail? And then he went to all online. I remember like, are you kidding me? I can't get discs anymore, So and then even like how they handle the platform itself, I think how they use the algorithm, I think that's super important. I think HBO Max will benefit from this because I don't think they're going to let HBO Max go. I think that's too much of a commodity for them, and they're just going to have a second streamer. But use their algorithm method to promote content on HBO Max. Because I think I might have said this a couple weeks ago. One thing HBO Max and Warner Brothers doesn't do, they don't do a good job at promoting their content. They have a massive library, but it just sits collecting dust and like, hey, remember that one thing? The one thing we liked? Where is it? Oh, it's on. I think it's on Max. I don't know, and then you have to go find
Right.
it. So I don't know. For me,
Oh, they didn't want Looney Tunes on Max anymore,
yeah,
so they,
that's a good
now
point.
it's on Prime or wherever. So
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards if we have to choose, choose between mommy or daddy. I think I'm gonna choose Netflix. Um, and I think honestly, I think Netflix is gonna look at this whole theater thing and go, "Hey, we don't want that kind of bad rap of us destroying movie theaters because we're built off movies." So I don't think they're
yeah,
gonna ruin the theater experience by taking on Warner Brothers.
Right.
cool. All right, Phil.
So I'm in agreement. I think that Netflix is the way to go on this. So yes, it is giving them a studio identity, even though it's more to be recognized as a studio because Netflix has studios. Netflix has all these different things. They're known as the company to go to if you want to get a big budget show done. So it's not like Netflix isn't somewhere that someone that's already there, but this just gives them a larger imprint right now. Taking all of that Warner Brothers IP and not having to pay for all of the streaming rights in order to put this stuff up, they can just put on everything they have with this massive library that they have now, or where they would have if they are able to get this purchase to go through. And as far as destroying theatrical value, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they are already experimenting with putting things in theaters and the advantages to putting things in theaters. I keep going back to this, and James knows I go back to this. James agrees on this one. K-pop Demon Hunters is proof in the pudding that they can put something on Netflix and then go put it in theaters and people will still go watch it, right? Because they want that theater experience. Okay. They still do put movies in theaters, like some of their larger ones. Again, we were just talking about Stranger Things,
Yeah.
right? If they didn't believe in theaters, if they didn't believe in putting things in theaters, they wouldn't have specifically made a point of saying, hey, the season finale of Stranger Things, because it is very theatrical, is going to be in theaters. They wouldn't even bother with that if that were the case, if they didn't believe in putting things in theaters. So I think that is when people argue that they're not going to put things in theaters and they don't care about that. I think that is the biggest bullshit horseshit excuse, because that's just people trying to fearmonger that a streamer won't take care of doing putting things in theaters. Now, are they gonna
Name
are
one thing that Netflix put out in theaters first before it was streaming.
uh
Wake up, Dead Man. So the Knives Out stuff
that
they
I was
put
gonna
out
say,
The
first.
sequel, okay, but
yeah,
the first one was on Net, but that was during COVID, so that doesn't count,
yeah.
right?
And
Okay.
I was gonna say that was the whole thing is James gave us the exact name right there. Thank you, James. There are films that they specifically want to have Oscar contention, so they will put it in theaters first. Um, Frankenstein is another one that was just in theaters first
There you go.
before it was on Netflix, and it was because they see that they had so much faith in that film, and it was built to be a theatrical release. But I mean, they had so much faith in that film that they put it in theaters first, but only had a limited run and had it on Netflix soon thereafter. So I
Do
mean,
you think that, that they would use the like, Warner Brothers as their theatrical release company, like, the stuff that they'll funnel to Warner Brothers
yeah,
Studios to do that? Do you feel that that's what they want Warner Brothers for?
I think there's multiple reasons. I think one of them is what I mentioned before, that they're not. What's the best way to get a film library that you don't have to pay streaming rights for will own the library, and now they don't. That's pure profit for them. That's honestly less of an expense for them because now they don't have to pay for those libraries, right? Number two, it's a traditional distributor. So the whole thing is okay. Any movies that we want to put out in theaters, the larger movies that we do, there's so many movies that I feel like would have done well in theaters that were on Netflix, and it's like, that's exactly it. Is okay. Now we have a chance to put these in theaters. Now I think that where Netflix is going to win is if they do a hybrid model, right? So where it's okay, it's streaming, and then somebody goes and watches a movie and is like, man, this is a really good movie. I wish I would have saw this in theaters. Oh, look, it's in theaters. I'm going to go pay to go watch it in theaters, right?
Yeah.
Because again, their experiment was K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Because the experiment was it's available to go watch it at home. James has seen it 5,000 times at home. How many times have you seen it how many times have you still seen it in theaters, James?
I think once.
I was gonna say I would assume twice, but I mean, like, still, he went to go see it in theaters.
But here's another one. So technically, that movie that came out of nowhere a year or two ago, Amelia Perez,
Yeah,
that was technically a Netflix distributed product that got released, limited release, but then on Netflix.
right.
So,
And it won a whole bunch of awards.
so I would
Yeah,
say
yeah.
movies like that just need a chance. I think Netflix is willing to take more of a chance on smaller budget projects, indie projects, get them in theaters. Are they going to do well? Maybe. If they don't, they're like, all right, you're going to have a home. And they might actually have two homes. It could be a home on Netflix or it could be home on Max. And probably a lot quicker than the traditional route of waiting, a long period of time. So I think they kind of win both ways if Netflix
Right.
takes it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah, no, I see that.
I was gonna say the whole thing about putting a theater in the hands of a traditional studio with theatrical DNA, that again, bullshit. I think that is the stupidest excuse that you can give somebody to say, oh, they're gonna handle it well because they were a studio before. Yeah, owned by a dude who didn't own a fucking studio before that. So don't give me that fucking bullshit. Okay, he also doesn't know shit about running a studio. So, uh the safe them being the safe bet again, that's BS as far as the way that I look at it. And stabilization, I mean, like, I don't think that any of the arguments that people have for Paramount taking over Warner Brothers are any ones that are good. I think that James hit it on the head, that it is all I think of is conglomeration. All I think about is you are monopolizing the studio system, and I mean, we literally have laws in place so that doesn't happen, because if there's no competition, then what the fuck's the point, as far as like business goes. um
Frey, what do you think? Where do you
yeah.
stand on all this
Yeah.
between Netflix and Paramount and the whole situation?
Yeah.
It really boils down to, for me, who's going to give, because I mean, let's face it, the biggest horse in the race that I'm concerned about is DC.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about all of the superheroes because I love them and I've loved them since I was little. So my biggest question is, who's going to give the DCU its creative control without trying to put their hands in everything? And I feel like that's Netflix and it's not Paramount Skydance.
Mhm.
I also don't want David Zaslav anywhere near this fucking company anymore.
Yeah.
I think he is the reason that people didn't go see Superman. Not as many people went and saw Superman, is because he's such a cancer to Warner Brothers and to PR for Warner Brothers with the whole canceling Batgirl, that yeah, he needs to get rid of Warner Brothers because nobody wants him to be in charge of Warner Brothers anymore. No
Right.
one wants his input. Go away, David Zaslav. Sorry, I didn't intentionally do that. It just I just want to punch him in the face. Anyway, I will not punch him in the face. I promise. I told Husby I wouldn't do that. I will not do it. But so I feel like Netflix has that kind of here. Just take money and do your project.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to be more apt to do that, but then also they are really like super cancel happy sometimes. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this show needs a couple more years to stand on its legs because I don't think the Gilded Age would have lasted at Netflix as long as it's lasted on HBO Max. And
Mhm.
so, there's certain things there, but then again, Paramount is the same way. They do
Yeah.
the same thing. And I don't think Paramount understands streaming at all. So if that's the world we're developing into, is that we want to see what we want to see when we want to see it.
Right.
And Netflix has much more of a grasp on that. So if I had to choose, if it was like, Jennifer, you're going to make this decision, just you, I would give it to Netflix because they have a better grasp on what's coming than the traditional studios do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like getting Warner Brothers and getting that prestige that Warner Brothers, that like the actual Warner Brothers has been around for a really long
Yeah.
time,
That
and it
history.
was one of the traditional studios, and merging it with something that it knows what's happening in the future. I think that could be a marriage made in heaven, and
Yeah.
I'm down for that. If Paramount Skydance gets it, I mean, yeah, it'll be fine. They'll pay the money for it, but I'll tell you what, I will track down the CEO and I will punch him in the face if he fucks with DC. That's all I'm gonna say.
I
Whoever
I
buys this, if you fuck with my DC, I will come for you.
I
Do you
imagine
see the look on my face?
Netflix going with the Amazon business model when it comes to this, for all the bad things that Amazon does. But I mean, when I worked at Amazon, what Amazon does well is when they acquire a like another company, all they do is handle logistics, and they allow that company to continue to operate the way that they were operating, because the whole thing is we wouldn't have bought you if you weren't successful to begin with anyways. Right. So Ring as a company, when I used to work for Ring as a company is still the same exact company as it was. All it is they have bigger pocketbooks because now they're getting Amazon money. But then they also have logistics handled by Amazon. So I imagine the best way for Netflix to handle this would be to allow Warner Brothers to still operate as the company that they are, but now they don't have to worry about the financial side of shit. Now Netflix handles that, right? Netflix handles the financial stuff. Netflix handles everything that they're doing, but then they can also use that as, hey, we've got movies we're doing and we need to distribute. Warner Brothers distributes, right? Things like that. Like I feel like the smartest way to run that company, or like to bring that into the fold, is to allow it to continue to be what it is, and then just handle kind of like the back end stuff that they need to handle. I know that that Sarandos already said that if they do acquire DC, that one, or if they acquire Warner Brothers, one, that the creative management team that is there currently, meaning James Gunn, is staying
Peter
in
Safran.
place. And Peter Safran, he was saying they were staying in place, and as a matter of fact, his plan was to extend their contracts.
Their contracts did get extended until 2027 prior to this happening. So that's like, they're like, so if Netflix does buy, obviously their contract will stay. If
Yeah.
Paramount Skydance, I will
The
punch them in the face.
Sarandos was saying specifically he wanted to extend their contracts by at least another 6 months. So like that's the whole thing, is like, and it's not much, but I mean that's enough for another movie, right? So I mean, like that's the whole thing is if Sarandos is already saying that I like what DC's doing, I think they should continue doing what they're doing. We're keeping the same people in place. You have all the trolls online that are sitting there saying the Snyderverse is coming back. It's not. I'm sorry, guys. As I know you guys are all sad about that, but the Snyderverse is not coming back. The Snyderverse is dead and gone.
Dead.
My favorite troll of all of them is the one that nobody goes to read, right? And it says next Netflix Warner Brothers acquisition just said that they are developing Justice League 2, right? Written and directed by James Gunn. Right? Such a troll, and like all the Snyderverse bros are all pissed off about it. I saw it reposted on the Snyderverse account, and they were excited, like Snyderverse is coming back. And I'm like, did you not read the whole thing? It literally says
It's
written and
not.
directed by James Gunn, dude. Like, like that is the biggest
Bot.
troll.
It's AI. It's an AI bot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
What is
think,
that
see,
troll?
so for me, just looking at those scenarios, like what will happen with the DCU and what's going to happen with theatrical releases, I think the spotlight is hotter on Netflix to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like if they make a misstep with crushing the DCU or like limiting Warner Brothers theatrical releases, they're going to get a lot of flack for it. Whereas
Yeah.
like Paramount and Skydance is going to be like, oh, we just changed things because we have some other releases coming. We're going to just tuck it behind us. No big deal. We're in charge. Like I feel like Netflix will make the conscious effort to do the right thing. You know, technically, and I was looking this up, they could technically release once they buy Warner Bros. They could technically release Batgirl.
They could, because now it's no longer a write-off for Netflix.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
they would own it. So yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
All
They
right,
would own
guys,
the
I think
that
we
content.
should wrap. I think we should wrap it up. So any last like short thoughts on this?
Well, we talked about that. We kind of touched on the hostile takeover. That's still pending, right? Like that
Yeah.
could happen,
Yeah.
not happen.
I hadn't heard anything up until the point that we came on the show. So there's no update as of now.
Yeah,
It's a long process, like especially if monopolies are starting to, because there's that all the antitrust laws and everything. So obviously lawyers are going to get involved in and I'm sure the government's going to get involved in all
Yeah.
that, but we're not
I-
talking about that part of it because we're fans and we're not a political podcast.
I heard the big difference between the two different bids. The Paramount Skydance bid is also includes the TV portion,
Right.
like the TV stations portion of Warner Brothers, whereas Netflix did not want any of that.
Yeah, which gets weird because Skydance just bought CBS, and it's like, okay, well now you have CBS and CNN, so it's like you have two competing networks. Like, do you merge those together, or do you, kind of create two separate narratives going from two networks that you own?
Right.
That gets a little
Oh
weird.
yeah, now I really don't want Paramount Skydance to get it. Screw you guys. I don't like CBS. CBS sucks. All right. So you know what though? I'd like some merch.
Because we got merch, people.